The efficiency that your body is performing basic physiological functions, that, in my opinion, is the number one key factor that's separating the bodies of those with a chronic and restrictive condition from those who are virtually able to do whatever they want within a given day and suffer with basically zero symptomatic consequences. You see, when it comes to conditions like POTS, dysautonomia, or chronic fatigue syndrome, what I believe has happened to the majority of us out there is I believe that the vast majority of us have suffered with some degree of neuronal injury. This means that we've either suffered some degree of dysfunction within our brain or the neuronal pathways that are delivering sensory information into our brain. And when this occurs, a cascade of consequences follow, and they all make it increasingly difficult for you to live on that same level as every other human out there, because your body is having to make so many adaptations and it just doesn't work efficiently as what their body does. First and foremost, the speed and ability of your brain and body to respond appropriately to any external stimuli will be compromised. So this means anything from temperature changes, positional changes, visual stimuli, noise. It might even be pressure changes. So when we change from lying to standing, all of these variables are going to be harder work for our own brain and body to actually decode. And if the body has to perform a basic physiological function and these neuronal pathways have been disrupted or damaged, then what's going to end up happening is that the body is going to deploy so many compensatory mechanisms in order to actually achieve that task. And all these mechanisms are going to mean that the body is going to have to expel more fuel to actually achieve what it's trying to achieve. And that's going to leave you with even less expendable energy to go about your day with. And another thing that's really important to note is that we only have limited amounts of glucose and oxygen available to us at any given time. And so because our brain is an aerobic beast and it consumes so much oxygen, if we end up having these compensatory mechanisms deployed because our body is finding it difficult to decode these surrounding variables, then that's going to leave us with even less energy because our brain is going to be working on overtime just to perform a very basic task. The moral of the story is, if you're somebody who's experienced breakdowns in these neuronal networks and the way they were designed to work, then life is going to become very tough because your body is going to start functioning in a way that it wasn't supposed to function. And as a result, it's going to have to make all of these adaptations. It's going to expel lots of energy. And ultimately, I believe this is the thing that's separating you from healthy people. It's kind of like if you decided to race someone in a car across the country and they took a clear motorway from the start point to the very finish, and you decided to take a route where you went through 7 very populated and congested cities. It's completely understandable as to why you wouldn't be able to compete on the same level as them and actually finish in anywhere near the same time. However, I do believe there is a way of tipping the scales in our favour when it comes to getting our body to function more in line with how a healthy human being functions. And I talk about all of this in the Unbeatable Blueprint online course. Here you'll learn why your body continues to revert back to being in a symptomatic state despite everything you try to recover, and more importantly, what it actually takes to bounce back from this situation. But the long and short of it is, if we want to be able to operate on a level that's similar to that of a fit and healthy human, what we have to do is we have to be able to identify these neuronal dysfunctions within our brain and nervous system, and then work on ways of gradually bringing them back to working how they were originally designed to work. And this should be efficiently and without tons of adaptations. And in my own personal case, I was able to identify some of these dysfunctions following extensive neurological testing that was carried out by a trained chiropractic neurologist. He was able to uncover certain neuronal dysfunctions and areas of hyperactivity within my brain that was actually causing a multitude of symptoms throughout certain systems and organs in my body, and it was causing me to become very symptomatic. And as soon as we started to work on reconditioning and fine-tuning these neuronal pathways, and we were actually able to calm down these areas of hyperactivity within my brain, suddenly I was experiencing less pain. I was able to stand up for longer periods of time. I was able to breathe normally again, to handle a wider variety of temperatures, to feel far less anxious, and I was just far more sociable. And when I started to experience this was exactly when I knew I was suddenly starting to live more in line with how a healthy human being should live.